Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. I'll be starting in 1 minute. I'm just trying to see if anybody else is going to join us today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Okay, so it is 11:05, so I'll be starting. So inshallah, today what I'll do is I'll actually talk about Surah An-Nas. I'll go through the verses with you guys, and then inshallah we'll talk about, we'll continue to read the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay, so this one's got a lot more information in it about him. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a book for younger kids that talks about Prophet Yusuf. So we're just going to focus on the older one, but I will talk a little bit about it so the little ones can understand as well. Okay, so first let's talk about Surah An-Nas. Now this is the last surah in the Quran. It's surah number 114, and so there's 114 surahs in the Quran, right? And today what I'm going to do with you guys is I'm going to read the verses with you. And then at the same time, it's got these explanations. And this worksheet is actually on my website as well, called scribblesandblocks.com. This one is it's actually geared towards, this particular worksheet is geared towards 6 to about 9 years old, but older kids can do it as well. If you're learning to read the Quran or just starting to learn to read the Quran, you can definitely, print these sheets out and work with them. The way I recommend to use these sheets is to kind of do one a day. So you're focusing on one worksheet and then that's it. That's all you need to know for that day, and then you can print the next worksheet for the next day. But today what I'm going to do is read the verses with you guys, talk to you a little bit about it, what it's about, and then inshallah move on. So let's start. Okay, so whenever you start a surah, whenever you start reading the Quran, you should always start by saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim and Bismillah ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, now verse 1 for the surah starts with Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. Now, it means, or the transliteration for this is, I seek refuge with the Rabb of mankind, right? Or the translation for this is, I seek refuge with the Rabb of mankind. Now, and it's saying, say, I seek refuge, right? So that say is very important, right? Qul means say, so you'll notice, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu bi Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, right? There's the 4 surahs at the end, Qul huwallahu ahad, right? All of those start with the word Qul, which means to say, okay? And it's telling you, say this. The surah with the command of Qul, it basically is saying that you need to use, seek refuge or seek protection, shelter, and safety, and you do it with Allah, right? With your Rabb. And he's not just Rabb, he is the Rabb of all mankind, right? Allah is for all of mankind. And that's who we seek refuge with. So it's starting with who you need to seek refuge with before the surah talks about who you need to seek refuge from. Okay, which is I like that. Now, the second verse of the Quran, right? It says Malik and Nas. Now we're talking about the attributes here. So Malik means master or the king, right? And Nas, once again, is mankind. So Nas means mankind. Every time you see the word Nas, a Nas, it's mankind. Okay? A Nas is of mankind. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not only the Rabb of mankind, but he's also the Malik of mankind, is what it's saying, right? And we know there's 99 names of Allah, right? So I hope you guys are kind of working on memorizing those. I'm actually going to be sharing worksheets for those as well with you guys soon, which has got all the names in there with all the, what it means and where you see it in the Quran and stuff, right? So now the word Malik, like I said, means king or ruler, and it's just basically telling you the person, or not the person, sorry, the one you are seeking refuge with, he's also the master of mankind or the king of mankind. verse 3 says Ilah nas. So once again, it's the Anas is always there for the surah because it's referring to mankind. It's talking to mankind. Here it's obviously saying the God of mankind. So Allah is the Ilah of mankind, right? Ilah nas, which means God. Allah is the only God for mankind, so we should only worship Him. So first three verses are basically just telling you the attributes of Allah, right? The what He is. He's Rabb. He's Malik. He is Ilahi, right? Now it's talking about who you're seeking protection from. So your fourth verse is then min sharral waswasil khannas, right? From the evil of the whisperings of the sneaky one. Oh, there's an error there. It should say sneaky one, not sneaking one. Sneaky one. Okay, so this is now trying to, okay, now there's a lot happening here. You're talking about the evil whisperings of the sneaky one. So we seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from evil, which is shar. So min sharril, right? The shar is the evil. Evil can sneak up on us without us even noticing it, right? So sometimes, and I want you guys to think about this, is what would evil be, right? What does it mean by evil? Evil thoughts, evil people, evil, things you hear, evil things you could see. What is it talking about, right? And it can, if it, think of examples of what these things can be, and they sneak up on us without even us noticing it. And this evil in the surah is mentioned as khannas. Okay, so the sneaky one. The word khannas means someone who is sneaky, who can bring evil. Okay, evil thoughts in our minds and make them seem attractive. So now think about what this is referring to. These thoughts come into our minds in the form of whisperings. So the waswas is that, right? So whenever, and I like it when kids are trying to memorize the surah, they always go waswas, min sharril waswasil khannas, right? So they enjoy that little part there because it's like, it's a funny sounding word, but it actually means something very important. Waswasil, right? That means it's whispers. And it's exactly how it sounds. And this is where it's important, because now after the first three verses were explained, as you're seeking protection with Allah, now it's telling you it's from these evil thoughts in our heads, these evil, the sneaky one, the sneaky thoughts that come into our heads, or the sneaky one can bring the thoughts into our heads. Then it says into verse 5, it says, Allazi yuwaswisu fi suduran nas, right? So who whispers into the ears of mankind, these evil, sneaky thoughts appear in our hearts quietly like whisperings, right? So these thoughts don't have to necessarily be really, really loud, right? It's not like someone physically coming in whispering something in my ear. It can be you just sitting there and you have this thought. So this thought that's maybe not a good thought, that's the whisperings, right, is what it's saying. And they appear in our hearts, and you might be encouraged or motivated to do something bad, but it's those thoughts, it's where it starts. It starts with that whisper in your heart quietly, and then you act on it, right? So the whole thing then becomes of, do you act on the thoughts that you're feeling, or do you try to do other things, or you try to find out, what can I do to kind of turn these negative thoughts into positive thoughts, right? So if I'm thinking of hurting somebody, what can I do to not do that then, right? And then verse 6 is minal jinnati wan nas, right? So from among the jinn and mankind. Now, this is important. I'm going to go back to verse 5 because it's saying, Allazi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, so who whispers into the ears of mankind. That's an error there, just say ears of mankind. From among the jinn and mankind. So these whispers, or these thoughts, can come to us from two sources, right? One is from jinns and one is from bad people. Now remember, I'm not sure if you guys remember one of the stories we read with Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. He was the king of the jinns, right? That's what he's called. And remember, there were some jinns that were bad jinns, but Allah had commanded all jinns to do exactly what Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam wanted. So even the bad jinns had to obey his orders, even if they didn't want to. So right then, you know, there are bad jinns and there are good jinns. Just like there's bad people and there's good people, right? The only difference is with jinns, we can't really see them. So we can, you know, the thoughts might be coming, they might be there, we just can't see them, right? So but that doesn't mean they don't exist, they're not there. So these thoughts can be coming from them, but at the same time, we also know there's bad people in this world, right? Not you know, we try to be good people, but there are bad people. So sometimes you know, someone can task you to do something that you don't want to do, right? So they're the ones telling you to do something. So in school, I'm thinking of peer pressure, right? A lot of times you're peer pressured into doing stuff that you don't want to, right? So those people, they're giving you bad ideas, right? And I always like to specify here, there's not I won't say everyone is bad. There are good people who can do bad things as well, right? So we're just beings. We have good thoughts and bad thoughts. It's all about how we act on them. So if someone's giving you bad advice, your job is then to see, okay, is this a good idea or a bad idea? Because if you act on it, on their suggestion, then you're listening to it, right? You're listening to those bad thoughts and you're acting on them. But if you decide and say, you know what, actually that's not a good idea, and try to talk to them out of it as well, then suddenly it's flipping, right? You could be turning their bad thoughts into good thoughts as well. So you can, you know, you have choices in front of you, right? And it's your decision whether you want to take that choice and, you know, and act on it, type of thing. But they're still going to be there. There's bad people and there's jinns that you know, that the whisperings can come from, or it can come from within inside of you too, right? And you always, every day, I would suggest you always ask yourself that question, right? Am I a good person? Am I a bad person, right? What do I want to be? Do I want to be a good person with doing good deeds? Like yesterday we talked about, or not yesterday, the day before, we talked about in the story, the two angels, right? Your right side and left side. Who do you want to be writing more? Do you want the right side to write more, or do you want the left side to write more and then keep erasing things when you're admitting your mistakes? Obviously, you want the right side to write more and more and more good deeds that you're doing, right? So Surah An-Nas, I love it because it helps you kind of understand that what you're trying to do, right? You want obviously the right side to write, the left side to write less. So the more good things you do, the more good deeds you do, the less of the whisperings you're going to hear, the negative whisperings you're going to hear, or the bad thoughts. Okay. So this is a worksheet that you can do. It breaks up very, very nicely. If you're still trying to memorize it, you can do that. Now, I'm going to quickly go over what you can learn from the Surah An-Nas. Evil thoughts can come from many places, right? We may think these are good thoughts, but they are actually bad. So we can recite the surah, which is also a dua, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from evil thoughts that come into our hearts. Sometimes people who are bad may want to be our friend. They tell us that they want good things from us, for us, but actually want to destroy us. We need to be careful when selecting our friends for this reason. With Allah's help and with our own efforts, we will be able to reject bad thoughts. And that is why when mom and dad say, surround yourself with good people, that's what they mean. People who are good, people who make you happy, people who make you do good things, right? And try to stay away from those people who make you want to do bad things. Okay, so it's always, you have to be a good judge of when you're making those decisions, because sometimes things seem good, but they're really not. And at the end of this worksheet, I have a little cut and paste activity for you guys if you guys want to try that. So yeah, so that's the Surah An-Nas. Inshallah, every week, just once a week, I'll try to, what I'll do is I'll share a surah with you guys, and I'll post it on my website as well so that you guys can download it from there. In Ramadan, these are all free downloads for you guys, so you don't have to worry about anything. Just print them out and you can work one sheet a day. Now, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and talk to you guys about, where is it? There it is. We're going to continue talking about Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay. Now, last when we talked about Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, he was, let let me see here. I'm trying to get to the page where I want to go to for you guys. Last week was on Tuesday when we talked about Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. We had learned that Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was, his brothers didn't like him, right? He was his father's favorite, so his brothers didn't like that. So what they did was they pretended to take him on a picnic, and then kind of threw him in the well. And then he was there for 3 days until a caravan came by, and they kind of wanted water, but he came out with holding onto the bucket, and then they took him to where they were, where their city was, and they gave him to, or sold him, actually not give him, they sold him to Al-Aziz, to the great Aziz, sorry. And that's where it ended, right? So now I'm going to kind of skip over some of the stuff and then read from when he meets Aziz, and then we'll go from there. Okay? All right. Try to do this like this. So you can follow along. Yusuf and the great Aziz. The merchant soon learned that Yusuf alayhi salam was a real treasure. Many wealthy people in Memphis wanted to buy him. It was obvious to all that Yusuf alayhi salam was not only strong and handsome, but very intelligent and polite. Each day, the price for Yusuf alayhi salam rose higher and higher. Finally, the ruler of the city, the Aziz, offered the largest amount of gold for him. So this is actually how it happened. The Aziz took Yusuf alayhi salam home with him and showed him to his wife. "We will treat him well," said the Aziz, who was a very kind man. "Maybe having this boy in our home will be a blessing for us. Maybe we can even adopt him as our own son." Yusuf alayhi salam stayed with the Aziz for many years. He grew up from a young boy to a strong and handsome man. He was also very pious with a deep faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was blessed with the knowledge and wisdom like his father. He had the ability to interpret dreams. So his father could interpret dreams and he could interpret dreams as well. And this is very important to his life. The Aziz was very kind to Yusuf alayhi salam, and he cared for him as if he was a family member. He was impressed with Yusuf's politeness and honesty. Around the city, women would fall in love with Yusuf alayhi salam the moment they set eyes on him. Now, that's the thing. So Yusuf alayhi salam was very, very handsome. So it's even that it's like almost Allah took all the beauty of mankind almost and gave most of it to him, and then everybody else got the rest, right? So he was a very, very good looking man. Girls would see him and just fall in love with him right away. He was so beautiful that as soon as he entered the room, they would become speechless and forget what they were doing. So that's how handsome he was. One woman fell in love with Yusuf alayhi salam, more than all the other women. And that was the Aziz's very own wife. Okay, so even though she raised him and everything, but they're not related, right? So she still fell in love with him because he was so beautiful. And I'm going to kind of skip over this part because it's not that important. But what happened is she obviously so his wife wanted to, she kind of almost had a disagreement with Yusuf alayhi salam over something. And he said he was not going to do what she asked him to do. And then what happened was she said, "Well, you know what, then I'm going to send you to jail." And he's like, "I'd rather go to jail than do what you're asking me to do." Okay, so we're going to just kind of skip over to that part because it's more important. So he basically told the Aziz, "You know what, send me to jail. I'd rather go to jail." So it was all right. So he went to jail. Now, Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam ended up going to jail for a crime that he did not commit. However, he knew that it was better than staying in the same house as the Aziz's wife. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam shared a jail cell with two young men. Now, this is where it gets interesting. They were servants of the Pharaoh and had been thrown into jail for making him angry. It was not long before Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam became friends with them and enlightened them with his abundant knowledge. They were very impressed by the clarity with which he spoke and the wise things which he said. As the days and months passed, Yusuf alayhi salam also taught them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the importance of following the straight path. Straight path, Surah Al-Fatiha, remember that. One day, the two men approached Yusuf alayhi salam with a very serious look on their faces. Oh, Yusuf, I had a very strange dream, one said. I dreamt that I was crushing grapes to make some wine. I too had a strange dream, said the other. I dreamt that I was carrying bread on my head and birds were eating from it. Can you tell us the meanings of these two dreams? Come back tomorrow, inshallah. I will tell you the meaning of your dreams then, my friends, replied the Prophet not sorry, alayhi salam. The next morning, the two men returned to Yusuf alayhi salam for the interpretations of their dreams. Yusuf alayhi salam turned to the man who had dreamt of crushing grapes. You will be freed from jail and will live in the king's palace, where you will serve him wine. Then he turned toward the other inmate. You will die on a cross for your crime, my friend. He said sadly, when you die, birds will eat from your head. As time passed, Yusuf's predictions came true. One was killed on a cross and the other was set free. As a freed servant was leaving the prison, he thanked Prophet Yusuf salam for having given him guidance and knowledge. Yusuf salam reminded him to tell the king about him so that perhaps he too could be set free. His friend promised that he would. However, once he got out, he was so excited to be freed that he forgot his promise to Yusuf salam. As a result, the Prophet ended up staying in jail for many more years. So Prophet Yusuf salam was in jail for a crime he did not commit for many, many years. The king's dream. Many years later, the king of Egypt had a very strange dream. The next morning, he called his advisors to tell them about it. In my dream, I saw 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 skinny cows, said the king with a confused look on his face. Then I saw 7 green ears of corn and 7 dry ears of corn. Can any of you tell me what this means? Guess who they're gonna call? His advisors thought long and hard, but could not understand the meaning of the dream. Suddenly, the king's wine server, remember that guy, remembered Yusuf alayhi salam. He was ashamed that he had forgotten about his friend for so long. He hoped that now he could make up for his mistake. And now think about this. Everything happens for a reason, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created another scenario for Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam to come out of jail. And the reason he forgot may have been that as well, because Allah wanted him to have that dream. He wanted the king to have that dream so the king would then ask for him to come. So everything happens for a reason that Allah has decided. I know a way to find the meaning of your dream, he told the king. The king gave him permission to leave the palace and go find Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. He went straight to the prison, where he found Yusuf still sitting in his cell. He embraced his old friend and apologized for forgetting about him for so long. When Yusuf alayhi salam had forgiven him, he told the Prophet alayhi salam about the king's dream. Yusuf alayhi salam replied, for 7 years, you will plant many fields of corn. When you pick the corn, only eat a small portion of it. Save most of it for later, because there will be 7 years of drought when no rain will fall. So he's telling them exactly what to do, because there's 7 years of prosper and then 7 years of where they will really be needing the crops that they have been prospering from. So he's saying, save it. Don't use all of it. Save most of it because you'll need it later. Many people will be starving and looking for food, so it is important to save the corn from the 7 good years to make sure that there is enough for everyone to eat. After the 7 years of drought pass, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send lots of rain. There will be plenty of food to eat and the people will make juices and oils and many other things. Yusuf's friend thanked him and promised that he would do all that he could to release him from prison. He rushed back to the royal palace to inform the king of the interpretation. When the king heard what the servant had to say, he was grateful to have learned such valuable information. Bring this man to me, he instructed his servant. I will make him my most trusted assistant. The servant took the king's message back to Yusuf alayhi salam and let him know that he was now a free man. Although Yusuf alayhi salam was glad to be free at last, he was upset by the fact that people still did not know the truth about him and the Aziz's wife. Before I get out, go back to the king and ask him about the lady who was after me, he said. Yusuf refused to leave the prison until his name was cleared of any wrongdoing. So basically what happens then is he calls Aziz, and then the Aziz's wife admits that she made a mistake and that she should not have got him in trouble. And so then the Aziz finds out the truth and everything, and then he gets freed from prison. When the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was freed from prison, he immediately went to work for the king. As time passed, the king became very impressed with his honesty and hard work. He appointed Yusuf alayhi salam to be in charge of the storehouses, where the crops and food would be stored for the drought. It was his job to make sure that enough food was being saved for the bad years to come. This was a very big responsibility, but Yusuf alayhi salam was a hard worker. He was always fair and respectful to farmers who brought their crops to the storehouse, and it was not long before his reputation became widely known. The storehouses overflowed with corn and other grains by the time the 7 years of good harvest had passed. Then, as if by magic, the rain stopped coming. The land became dry and dusty, and the ground cracked under the extreme heat. The plants and vegetation withered and died. Throughout the region, the drought depleted harvests and food supplies dwindled. People began to panic about the possibility of starvation. However, because of his careful planning, Yusuf alayhi salam made sure that everyone had enough to eat. Word of the king's surplus of food spread quickly. Soon, caravans, travelers from every corner of the region were coming to Egypt to buy food. The king was extremely proud of this intelligent and gifted advisor. Because of him, the kingdom was making money even in a time of drought. Clearly, Yusuf alayhi salam was a special person. Now, next is a strange reunion. But for this, I will actually read it later to you guys. So we'll meet again on Tuesday. The topic is a strange reunion. So I want you guys to now, for the rest of the little few days, next days, think about what the strange reunion is going to be. Okay, because there's a lot to cover in the story here. But I want you guys to think about that, because remember I talked about you on Thursday, things come full circle. That's what's going to happen now. It's all going to come full circle. Because remember in the beginning of his life, he had a family, but then his brother took him away, right? So now it's all going to come back. And Allah will always, and that's the thing, right? Allah creates these scenarios, He creates the situations, and things just kind of fall into place. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I will once again share the website that I have where you guys can download the Surah An-Nas from. There is a kids version as well. So if you have little toddlers at home, so I'm thinking like about preschool age, 3 and 4-year-olds, they can do this as well because there's a toddler version as well for Surah An-Nas. It's coloring sheets and things like that with the verses. You can definitely enjoy that as well. All right, and I will see you inshallah next Tuesday. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to see if Sister Uruj wants to say anything at all. You can unmute yourself, Sister Uruj. I'm not sure if you can. If there's any questions, do let me know once again. You guys can always email Sister Aruj at office@alnoor at miaonline.org and see, for the questions to me. And I will share the website as well with you guys. I've chosen a chat, but I'll ask her to share the link as well with you if she can.
Okay, no, actually, yeah, I'm going to copy the website here and post it again for everyone so that people can note it down, and we can also share on our page. Taj, can you write the website link again?
It's just right here. I'm sending it to you privately. I'm so sorry, you guys. 1 second, I'll make it public.
Perfect.
And there's Ramadan activities on there as well, guys, that you guys can check out. And I will see you, inshallah, next Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Taj. Thank you, everybody.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.